Welcome to episode 9. This is 9/24/2019 on Tuesday. And just full disclosure at the beginning, the term Hippiecrits did not originate with me. But it is a helpful term to use. And I'll tell you why. But first, what do we mean by Hippiecrits? Well, hippie, hipster are terms for a movement today where people are basically find themselves driven to stay out of the mainstream, to always try to be different, original, never do what everyone is doing, not be in the herd, not be in the group, to maintain their authenticity by not conforming to whatever everyone's conforming to. And by hypocrites, it's meant to play off the word hypocrite, obviously, which would be someone who's not being authentic and not being real, not being themselves. And so the irony is that in people's efforts to be original, they actually become inauthentic. How's it work? Well, first of all, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's like we're going to eat peanut butter crackers sideways, that becomes the new norm, right? As soon as the flower unfolds and comes out, it becomes the new cage that everyone has to live in. So you go to this coffee shop or whatever, but they even develop communities and where everybody does the same thing. So they end up being conformist. They just replace an old law with a new one, and it reminds me of the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie where Rudolph and Hermie the elf get together and they say, let's be independent together. And so when that fails, what will happen is then people want to come up with a new hipster thing to do, right? And you notice it starts getting really awkward. You have to keep trying to make it work. And you just have to come up with the most bizarre stuff, like, I eat my oatmeal in ice trays or something like that, just so you can be different. And you become so devoted to the idea of being different that if you really stick with it, you have to become indifferent to literally the entire world, because any object in the world that you like, someone else might like it. And at that point, you got to let it go, because then it's mainstream and then everybody's doing it. And so it ultimately fails, and here's a biblical thought that's missing. Man is made in the image of God, and that means at his very core, he's a copy. He's an image of another original. And so that means the most inauthentic thing I could ever do is try to be original, if at the core of my being I'm not an original. And the most authentic thing I could ever do is to copy and mimic and follow someone else's pattern, namely God's. And so God is the absolute original who's expressed himself in creation. And so the thing to do is, instead of wearing ourselves out trying to be God, trying to be original, trying to create a universe that everyone can marvel at, is instead to be the copy and to go out and enjoy the originality of God all throughout the world. And there's plenty out there. There's more than you have enough time to revel in, and to find your identity in that rather than being original. And that is something worth starting a movement about. So that's what we mean by hypocrites. And so we hope you won't be one, and instead you'll be authentic and original and conform to someone else. And so that's what we mean by that. Next week, or next time, we're going to unpack another statement. This one did originate with me, and it's called holier than the holier than thous. So that's next time. See you and have a good evening.